Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
Thank you for being here. Today it's March 31st, Women's History Month. And guess what, friends? You are on the Friday Power Lunch. I'm Catherine White, bringing you all the guests, the issues, the actions. We are amplifying the voice of the grassroots to get things done. And yes, to have a lot of fun. And today we're going to do it. So we are shaking up the table in Virginia. We are glad you're here. And we want to make sure that you remember the rules of the road. Use our chat. Converse, have a good time. You all can put your campaign calls to action in there, talk to each other, but please keep it civil and don't get personal. And then the after chat starts at 1 o'clock. We hope some of the people in the room today can stay with us so we can ask them more questions, but this is also a great time for you guys to spend and share some of your information of what you're doing. And I want to say big thank you for supporting the show. Putting a women in charge, well, heck yeah, you've been putting us in charge, supporting our show. A lot of you have become patrons. Some of you have even upped your weekly. Thank you so much to Manjula, Amber, and Julie Galdo for increasing your support and our love of our show. It means so much. And lastly, the Women's Summit. Woo! Remember, what we like to do is we do this weekly to keep us together in community and keep us strong. And then we do the Women's Summit. And this is for anybody, women, men, for all genders. Just so you're woke as shit and you're ready to get work done, you need to go to the Women's Summit. So we have our early bird. It ended yesterday, but for friends listening right now, friends of the Power Lunch, we still have our tickets on sale. So get your early bird. It's a great ticket price because that price will go up tomorrow. So that's the super thing about putting us in charge. I also want to take one little weeny minute to say thank you to Miss Margaret Morrison. I hope you're out there listening for your amazing support of the Women's Summit. We will use your sponsorship to support scholarship for students, and we will make sure, because you won't be with us that weekend on July 22nd and 23rd, that your sponsorship will put at the table the youth that we have so much hope in for the future. So thank you. And lastly, I always love a shout out to the delegates and the elected in the room who have bought their ticket. Elizabeth Bennett Parker came in first of getting a ticket. So thank you for supporting the Women's Summit. And that means so much. And lastly, guess what? No Power Lunch next week. We're going to be on a little vacation. We'll be taking a little break. So, we'll be back, though, on April 14th with Dahlia Lithwick and Dahlia Patchek. So hope you'll tune in then. All right. I am thinking it's 12:09. What do we want to put a woman in charge first? Or maybe the women in charge of the grassroots will go first, and then we're going to kick it over to Senator McClellan, if that works for everybody. What do you say, Louisa?
That sounds great, and I will keep it short, but I am so excited to be here with everybody today. I know that last week we talked about the Senate races that we were watching in Virginia for this year. And I promised that this week we would talk about the House races. So first thing, though, to close the loop, Lamont Bagby did win the Senate District 9 race. He will be taking over that seat from Senator McClellan, and he won with 90% of the vote. So that was a very great turnout, and just another way to just kick off the election season cycle, for us. So I will put in the chat the link to the Virginia Grassroots Coalition website where you can find most of the information I'm about to share. But here are some of the key House races that we want to be looking out for in Virginia this year. So we've got House District 21. It's an open seat. Joshua Thomas is running for it on the Democratic ticket. It is a 3.4 R, so it is possible for us to pull that one off, pull off a win. And so we want to make sure that we are fighting for that seat. It is a Northern Virginia seat. Let's expand our blue wave up in this part of the state. That we also have HD 22, also an open seat. We have Travis Nebhard running. It is a 7.1 plus R seat. So it's a little bit harder, but it is in Nova. And I think this is another one that we should be fighting for and trying to take over control. We've got HD 55. This is a flip seat. We've got 2 Democrats running for the seat. It has been redistricted. It's a Charlottesville seat, and it is now very much possible for it to be Democratic. So it previously was Republican, but it is now an 11.7 plus Democrat seat. This is one that should be a really easy pickup for us, but definitely worth paying attention to because we need to get those Democrats' names out there. HD 57 is an open seat. We have 2 Democrats running for it. It is a 2.9 plus R seat, which has been 2.9 plus R seat in the Richmond area. It's an open seat, so we definitely have the opportunity because there won't be an incumbent on the ticket that the Republicans will be running. So we really want to try to pick that seat up as well. We've got HD 58 also in the Richmond area. This is a hold seat for Rodney Willett. It is a Democratic seat. It's 4.7D. Just one to keep a track of, just to make sure that we are in good shape going into the general. We've got HD 65. This is an open seat that Josh Cole is running for. We all love Josh. He was at the coalition meeting a couple weekends ago. It is a 2.9 R seat in Fredericksburg. Josh is very optimistic about the opportunity to pick up this seat. So please find ways to support that race. We've got HD 82. This is a flip seat. We've got multiple Democratic candidates running for it. It is in the Petersburg City area. It's a 2.1 R. Another one that I think we should be fighting really hard for to flip that blue. We've got HD 84. This is a hold seat. Nadarius Clark is running for it, as well as another Democrat. It's in Suffolk City, and it is a 2.3 D. So we should be able to hold that for Nadarius, but you know, Republicans are coming after us, and you know that Virginia Beach is always a tough place for Democrats to run. So please make sure to check out that seat. And then the last 2 are also in that area. We've got HD 94. This is an open seat. Phil Hernandez is running for it as well as another candidate. It's a 3.9 D. So it would be really great to get that seat for Phil. So if you have worked on one of his campaigns before, we got another opportunity to get him elected. And then we've got an HD 97 flip seat. Michael Fagans is running for that, and it's a 2.2 R. Another one in Virginia Beach that we have a really good chance of flipping. So that doesn't mean we don't have other House races, because you know all 100 seats are up for grabs. And so I want to encourage those other candidates who are in the room today to share what's going on with their campaigns in the chat. I am sharing a canvas launch for Russet Perry, who is running for Senate District 31 in the chat. That's happening this Saturday. So if you happen to be in the Loudoun area or want to go visit Loudoun County this weekend, she could really use some support. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention the Wisconsin race for the Supreme Court. I'm putting in some links for phone banking. If you have time, we really encourage you to make some calls, make sure those Democrats are getting out to vote in that election. So it was a lot. Thank you for sticking with everybody. But I'll put the link in the chat as well. Really want to start to encourage you to get in support of these campaigns. The earlier that we give support to campaigns, the better chance they have of being successful, both in the primaries and in the general. So it is campaign season, and
yes, it is. It's what we like to do. When I hear flip, I'm like, I'm in. That's right. Our sweet spot. And I love today, Louisa, because we're going to be speaking. I put everybody in kind of chronological order too, like how we did flip it, and we see, people like Elizabeth GUZMAN here, KARRIE DELANEY, SHELLY, SIMONDS, each has a special story. And then we have some of our newer wins, Jackie Glass, Irene Shin, Brianna Soule. It's just very exciting talking about women rocking it. And of course, watching the progress with Senator McClellan, now Congresswoman. And so it's just exciting that we're all having this season. Before I let you leave, though, I have to say, I usually get to talk to Fennell, but we see that Trump is indicted, and I see that, and then I go like this. Okay, let's not pay attention to that. Let's pay attention to Wisconsin, on our races in Virginia. We know he's a crook. We know he's corrupt. It's like, what's new? Let's let those people deal with it. But us in Virginia are going to fight like hell to get ourselves in the majority and make sure we just do our work. So that's my little getting on my high horse today, but that's what I'm going to say.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to see all of the wonderful delegates and senators that we have in the room today. Yes. I mean, it has just been so wonderful working with you in Virginia. When I talk to people about why do we do politics, I say it's because of the people who are there representing us, who really care and who have incredible passion for the work. And so it's so exciting to be here and to get the energy from all of you. So
thank you. Good, safe travels, Godspeed, as we say, and then we'll see you back in a couple weeks. Well, I just say, let's not wait any longer. Let's bring up a woman in charge, Congressman Jennifer McClellan. Oh my gosh, I just want to say big hello, and everybody in this room, let's give her, where's that applause, Robin? Come on. Here it comes. Just wait for it. She's looking. Oh, yeah.
I see some people doing it with their.
Yes, oh, good applause. Okay. Anyways, here we go. It's let out. Okay, great. So let's just start. Thank you for being here. We're so excited. And I'm just going to hand the floor over to you and tell us what is going on in your new role. And then I know you wanted to also talk a little bit about Virginia, some of the things that you are proud and what's being enacted or some of these bills.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I could not let Women's History Month in without finishing out on the Power Lunch. So it's great to be with you all. We are in a recess, came home yesterday, getting ready to go on spring break and have the first vacation in quite a while. And guess what? We're going to DC, but that's okay. Because the kids love being there, and I've got an office I don't have much on the wall, so I got to make sure that I am getting the office completely set up. It has been a whirlwind, not even month. The beauty of becoming in a special and being number 435 is everybody knows who you are. So it has been exciting getting to know my new colleagues, voting on some stupid stuff, really. The first two major bills that I had to vote on the floor was the so-called Parental Bill of Rights, which I actually call the Politics Over People Act, and their HR 1, which I call the Polluters Over People Act. And I voted no on both of those, but really pushing to, look, the one thing that has become clear to me in Congress, which is something that we learned in the General Assembly a long time ago, is Republicans don't have solutions to the major problems that are facing us, whether it's, and literally, one of my colleagues in Congress said after the shooting in Tennessee, like, we're not going to fix it. Really?
Yeah.
And I'm committed, and the Democratic caucus is committed to fixing it. This week, the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus announced my membership, because there are a lot of caucuses up there where even if we can't get the Republicans to do the right thing, we are pushing to do the right thing anyway, whether it is access to abortion, whether it is finally publishing the ERA that Virginia became.
Are you in the ERA caucus?
That's right. I'm a vice chair of the ERA caucus. We are really pushing to solve problems. That's what they sent us there to do, is to solve problems. And so I'm very excited that the first speech I ever gave on the House floor on a bill was on the so-called Parental Bill of Rights, which does nothing to actually address what our students need to succeed. Right. And the second floor speech I gave was in a special hour that the women of the Congressional Black Caucus talked about our commitment to the ERA and how from the beginning, Black women have been leading on every social justice movement in this country. And we're in charge going. So first of all, I'm just loving every minute of it. And even when the good news is everything up there is so big that if there's something or someone that I want to avoid, I can.
That's funny.
I was in an elevator with Matt Geitz. That was interesting. But for the most part, I just focused.
Like creepy a little bit, or yeah. Okay.
I'm just focused on doing the work and helping people and enjoying every minute of it. That does not mean, though, that I'm not still focused on Virginia, and I am, and I have made some pretty significant commitments, whether it's to the coordinated campaign, working out what we're going to do with candidates, but I've made very clear to my team that even though I'm in Congress, I'm going to be heavily involved in making sure we keep and expand on the Senate brick wall, that we take back the House of Delegates, that we elect Democrats up and down the ballot. I'm particularly focused on school board races because it is very clear that what a lot of these so-called parental rights groups, many of whom don't have children in public schools, are going to take our schools in the wrong direction. So I'm not going anywhere as far as making sure that we elect Democrats up and down the ballot. And I want to get to some of these great women in the House that you're going to hear from, but I got a couple of requests.
We love it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I got a call to action. I now have on the official side, they're all verified, a website, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook pages. It's very easy to remember. They're all at Rep McClellan. I've got a great following on the Jen McClellan VA side. I need you all to follow me on the official side because that's where I talk about everything that is happening in Congress. I can't cross-post under the ethics rules. So make sure you're following me on Rep McClellan to see everything that's happening. And I'm going to launch my newsletter. It takes a little bit to get things set up there, but we're going to start doing email newsletters. So go to the website, sign up for that. Courtney's going to put that in the chat. When you come to DC, let my team know. If I happen to be in the office, would love to see you. I'm not always there. I had 2 committee hearings at the same time, so it's a lot like the Senate in that way. But if I am there, would love to see you. So let me know when you're coming. And just happy Women's History Month. It is Herstory all year long.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to see my former colleagues from the House as we go through the rest of the Power Lunch today.
It is really supporting and uplifting each other. And I will be excited to have a friend. I know I see EILEEN Davis in the room. Her daughter, Abigail Spanberger, is there. We have Jennifer Wexton. We know that we lost Elaine Luria, but we're so grateful to have another woman in charge up in the House. And just so you know, here's a little, I'm a good tour guide, but when you take your family in, there is a feminist Black pioneer exhibit at the Martin Luther King Memorial Library. And they're talking about Black feminists kicking butt and being in every part of history. And you said it at the beginning. So you can go to that museum.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay,
that's great. What we're doing on spring break.
There it is. Oh, yeah. So, okay, everybody, applause in the room for Jennifer McClellan. Woo-hoo! Well, so go down and see her and help her. Anybody like to decorate? I'm sure she would, maybe needs a little help, and that would be fun. So thank you again. Great to see you, and have just a great time with your family.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Let's talking about women in charge. We have Delegate VIVIAN Watts here, and we have also Delegate EILEEN Fillercorn historic women here, and I am so glad to have you both. We started off with you because longest serving Vivian Watts, history maker as well. We have Eileen Fillercorn, first woman ever to be speaker and first Jewish woman. So we're just so pleased to have you here. I'm going to start, well, I had to say, Vivian, I'm going to start with age, how long you've been there. And we wanted to, and Eileen will be right with you. And please, Eileen, feel free to just get right in there. We had 3 questions we sent you about today, which you'd want to talk about. So, what inspired you most in your journey, lessons learned that a lesson learned that you really want to get across, or how are you shaking the table? So my friend, today, let's celebrate. What's going on? What do you want to say on Women's History this last day? What did you pick and what are you going to talk about?
Okay, so I'm going to be posting a Library of Virginia panel that we just had a couple of days ago, which will talk more about the fact that this is the 100th anniversary of the first woman being elected to the House of Delegates way back in 1923. So it's that kind of span of history that we're also commemorating now on this last day of Women's History Month.
That's amazing. No, I saw that seat at the table that just happened, and I can't wait to see that. And, when you talk about your time where you had to go through the side door of the legislative club or something, and then had to have permission to wear pants. I mean, you've seen a lot that's happened. And do you have like one lesson learned that you'd like to impart? And then I'm going to go over to Eileen, and we're going to.
Well, since you started there, Catherine, I have to say, whether it was a pouring rain, I remember particularly having to go to the side door. So did any Black person had to go to the side door of the Commonwealth Club, even though it was where a lot of legislative sessions were had. And it was that one particular night, it was pouring rain. Or what? I have to ask permission to wear a pantsuit? Excuse me, it's January and February. But I say that between us on this call, but what lesson learned is you just don't take exception. You do not let them divert you with those kind of whatever they have to do, because you have a mission of what you have to do and why you're there, and you're going to break down those barriers. It may take a lot longer than you think. It wasn't until Doug Wilder was elected governor that finally they let African Americans into the front door. Wow. And I could go on and on about decades before some reasonable changes were made, but you hang in there and you operate as the competent person you are, and let all of these symbols be just the black marks that they are.
Yes. Well, I was loving reading about you because, you figured out how to thwart that system. And I loved it when, you couldn't go to these late night things that you were left out of, or the club. Then you got there early in the morning and made sure that you were getting into conversation with some of your colleagues. So I love that thinking too, like, don't let it stop you, figure it out. Right. So
absolutely. And in it, when the guy talks about having just stopped somebody who was running away, who had committed a crime, he put him against the car. This is a hardware store owner from Roanoke who used to represent the area. I could talk about how when the burglar was in our house, I hit him with a shovel. And somehow I get a little credibility because you just make sure that whether they'll let you in the room or not, you'll take any crack you can find.
I love that. We'll end that with there. I want to say something real quick. Hopefully you could stay for the after chat. Can you stay today? Because we may rely on you a little bit.
I can't today, thanks.
Oh, good, because I know we're going to, and anybody else is welcome, obviously. We want to talk a little bit about the session and maybe after chat. So Eileen, I'm so glad to have you here with your wonderful colleague you've served together, but you have served 14 sessions in the House of Delegates, and that you have, really have done a lot to make change And then 3 years was it 3 years that we had to make some really big change? It just seems like yesterday when you were down there making sure that we passed all those bills. So let's talk about you and where do you want to focus on today in your story?
Well, thanks so much. First of all, it's great to be here with Network Nova and at the Power Lunch. It's hard to believe it's the end of March already, but as our fabulous new member of Congress said, it's always herstory and Women's Herstory Month. So yes, it's interesting. When I joined the House of Delegates, I was one of 19 women in the entire body and one of only a few moms of school-age kids. And today, as you all know, our caucus is the first majority woman caucus in Virginia's history.
Yeah, watch out. We got the clapper.
And with current vacancies, women will make up nearly 60% of our caucus on April 12th at reconvene session. That says a lot. And I love the fact that you all were talking about shaking up the table and, in Virginia politics. I just love that image, that visual. And, I think we always talk about we need to make sure that we have seats at the table. But let me say, not at the end of the table. We need to be at the front or the head of the table where we can truly shake things up. And as you said, as the first woman and the first Jewish speaker of the House of Delegates, I am so proud of so much of our accomplishments, but also it's important to note, I appointed more women and more diverse individuals to leadership positions than in our entire Commonwealth's history, including the very first Black women to ever chair committees, which is pathetic it took that long. But that's something that I'm incredibly proud of during my tenure as speaker.
It does say a lot, though, doesn't it? That when you get at the table, that you can share that and do that, and I love that.
Absolutely,
that you were able to do that, right?
So incredibly proud of how my colleagues and I were able to move quickly and boldly, improving the lives of Virginians in such a meaningful way. And I'd have to thank you. Robin, Stair, Catherine, all of you on today for, as advocates, as supporters who worked so hard over the years to make all of this possible.
Yeah,
it's really impressive.
No, and so thank you very much for that. That means a lot. So in general, one last takeaway. I mean, maybe you want to concentrate on a lesson learned or just in imparting words, because we know that you are not going to be running, and we're going to be excited to see where your journey goes. Do you have any kind of advice or how you plan to shake the table? What do you think?
Absolutely, Stair. And most people do. I've got my PAC, Energize for Change PAC, and got an incredible team of professionals, and we've really done a lot of good. Last year, I actually had the opportunity to expand the PAC and supported over 30 progressive candidates flipping local seats last November across Virginia. And so, the focus had always been on the really state level, and I saw a need to get involved in school board races, in city council, town council, and we did exactly that. And this year I'm working harder than ever to do the same thing, focusing on school board, but also in the General Assembly and all corners of the Commonwealth. So I think it's so important that we cannot cede one elected office to Glenn Youngkin and the Republicans. We have the capable, qualified candidates, and that is what I'm going to be doing, having a major role, continuing to raise money, give money, supply infrastructure and support from my team to make sure that we can move things forward.
Yeah, that means a lot to hear that, because I think that's exactly what we have to do to really to get back this win. And these school board people and some of these seats are really worried and they need support. I know, like in Fairfax, we've had a turnover of 7 and we have Rashna there still, yay. But we need to make sure everybody feels supported. It's great that you'll be there doing that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been just so much fun. What a great way to start the show. Jennifer McClellan, EILEEN Fullercorn, Vivian Watts. So thank you for this first segment. I'm glad you guys, such a high bar, Vivian. So but I know that next, exciting journey for a lot of people in the room when we got into politics, after the election of who, the indicted criminal crook, and here they come. We got really in action, and we tried to flip seats and get there to help candidates that stood up. So today, I'm so happy to see KATHY TRAN here, Elizabeth GUZMAN, and is KARRIE DELANEY? There's KARRIE. Yes. So for us, you guys will be our special favorites. I just have to say that. No, I don't mean favorites. It's more like, this is where we got our kind of nails sharpened of how to do political work, fall in love with candidates and then really help them win and try to help and support them. I remember meeting KARRIE at a fundraiser at a friend's house on the lake. And I was like, wow, great. And to see you guys just continuing to excel. So welcome. And I just want to do the same thing. I want to go around here. I'll start with KARRIE DELANEY. She's the first on my list. And KARRIE, welcome. I just really want to get right into this segment to talk about you and your personal views of how you're shaking the table, or your personal journey, or some kind of lessons learned. What say you?
Well, it is so great to be here. And you're so right, Catherine. I just look back to what feels in some ways like a really long time ago, and in some ways like just yesterday, when you think back to those elections of 2017, and just how really not just historic, but how it just changed our lives in so many ways. So many people that got engaged in local state politics that had never been involved in maybe anything remotely political before. We're now just rising up to all levels of both just grassroots support, donors, and people running for office saying, we got to get this done. And it just awoken a passion in people like I don't think anyone had ever seen before. And just to see that here we are, 6 years later, our class just finished our 6th session. And now it kind of feels like we've been here a while, which is kind of wild. And we're still here, and we're still going strong. And I mean, look at this great room and this audience, and it's like nothing has really changed. We do need to keep that energy going. But when I'm here, I see, okay, we really do have this, and it awoken something, I think, in all of us that we're just going to continue to persist with. And it has been such an incredible journey. And we did just finish our 6th session, this class. And so we're starting to feel in that place like, okay, I think we know where things are. We know where the bathrooms are. Like we've learned our way. We're going to get a new building, so then we won't. But, we're starting to kind of really get in the flow of understanding exactly how this place works, and sort of learning some of those tips and tricks of just navigating. And I think that's kind of the lesson learned that I'm interested in sharing today, is just kind of what we learned about having to work with a whole bunch of different people who see the world a lot of different ways, but to also be effective. And it's kind of threading that needle between, there are values that are non-negotiable for us in this room. Right. You know what they are. And there's also a lot of opportunity at the same time to work on a lot of issues that impact the everyday lives of Virginians. And that can require, looking for those opportunities to work across the aisle, to work with people that see things a little differently than we do, but to also just focus on finding those solutions and kind of learning where that is, where you give, where you take, so that you can be effective. And I think that has been kind of, something that I have really grown in during my time in the legislature, to figure out, where that is. What are you willing to kind of put your disagreements aside in order to be effective in a different space without compromising your values on the things that we're not going to negotiate on.
I think it does make a difference when we didn't have the majority. Now you learn, wow, this is great to have all this. And then you go back to, oh shoot, now I have to really, you have to bring up new skills. It sounds like your lesson is really, you grow.
You have to be agile, because this class came in the minority. We were in the majority, and now we're back in the minority. And you know what? We're going to be in the majority again. So we're kind of the flip-flop class. We've learned how to navigate it all and to be effective in all those environments. You really kind of have to be a chameleon, but listening to the people, being the voice of those who matter, is fundamentally all that matters at the end of the day. It doesn't matter whose name's on the bill. Doesn't matter who gets credit for it or how you get it navigated through. If you can impact people's lives in a positive way, you've done your job.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for that. And with that, I'd like to just go right over to Elizabeth GUZMAN. When I think about Elizabeth, when I think about the flip-flop, I just think about shoes, and I think about her fantastic shoes, and that she definitely can flip and that flop around that place. And Don't mess with Elizabeth Guzman. And let's talk about you. You know, it's just great to see you talking about shaking things up. Really, when women are working together like this, I mean, you've seen it all. You've, in your long life, your long career of advocating for different issues. Now here we are, Women's History Month. Let's talk about you. What do you really want to talk about today? Somebody inspired you in your journey, lessons learned, or how you plan to shake the table?
Well,
completely different.
All right. So let's touch a little bit. You know, if I have to look about someone who inspired me, I have to think about Dolores Huertas. And I will recommend everyone, you know, to watch the documentary about her life and how it is not new for women to prove themselves all the time, and how she shared the struggles of, you know, dealing with competitive priorities, your family, you know, the labor movement, but then how she needs to prove herself. And when she was the leader and she needed to just go ahead and show that it was beyond titles, but it was what she really cared about. And I think for this Women's History Month, I have to recognize my friend Dolores Huertas, because every time I'm on the ballot, every time she shows up for me. So she's my hero, and she has paved the way for many women in the labor movement to succeed, from activists and now elected officials. I'd be remiss if I don't recognize here my classmates, KATHY TRAN and KARRIE DELANEY, because we've been blazing some trails since we started. You know, it wasn't popular to have an elected official with your child, you know, going to events and going, but you know what? The reality is that that wasn't the norm when we were elected. It wasn't popular. You know, many of us were told that who's going to watch your children while you campaign? How are you going to multitask? You know, have you got approval from your employer? So I think that now seeing so many moms and so many women, I mean, across Virginia and across the country, showing and proving themselves that we can be moms and we can be successful elected officials, we are proud to be part and started that movement. So, and as Carrie said, you know, if there's something to rock the vote, one thing that we are very popular in the House of Delegates is that we don't compromise our values, and we love to speak truth to power. So we're proud to serve as the most progressive, you know, House of Delegates in the Southern region in the country, you know, where we have been the pioneers of many legislation that have improved the life of working Virginians, of accessing to public education and access to healthcare. So I think that is, to us, in a nutshell, what we do. And finally, I think that we have been voice to the voiceless, you know, KATHY and I, in this regard, you know, we were the first female immigrants that ever served in the General Assembly. And I think that also has helped other immigrants across the Commonwealth to be able to be in office. And we realized that many of our struggles were not unique also to female immigrants, but actually many females across this Commonwealth have faced the same challenges.
Yes.
That's how we do our education. You know? That's how we rock the vote every year in Richmond. And I can't believe it's been 6 years. But thank you, Network Nova, for being there for us from the beginning.
Still here. We're still here. We're like, still, it's like amazing. I think to myself, okay, we're in this because we do have so much is at stake. When I think about handing this over to KATHY Tran and talk to her about this, is that not to change the subject, but to women be able to do these kind of jobs, this is why reproductive choice and health choice are so important. And it's almost like rolling back education. It's like, how do we keep those women in the damn kitchen? Well, we have to roll back our rights. So I'm so glad that in Virginia, we will not let that happen. And so with KATHY, I'm so glad you're here. And I saw is the littlest one, is that
it's Warren.
Warren, I want to say, Warren. That's Warren, that the kids are going to know all about politics. So let's just go right into it. KATHY, what are your thoughts on this day?
All right. Well, I first have to say a couple of things. One, Catherine, you stare. Sorry, I think he just had a little bit of his little trike mishap, but you, Stare, Robin, and Finale have just really shaken the table in Virginia and helped to, not just start but grow and sustain this movement, and making sure that everybody across Virginia is really engaged and has a seat at our advocacy table in our grassroots movement. So thank you so much for that work. And I would have to second your comment about Delegate GUZMAN's shoes. My daughter Charlotte says Miss Elizabeth has the best shoes in the whole General Assembly. So I'm always like, sometimes
I love it. I think we should embrace our, I think it's a good thing to embrace. It may seem, we're women and wearing cool shoes is cool. It's a thing. You can have a cool tie, or you can have cool shoes. But yeah. So Kathy, I'm really excited to find out about, out of those questions today, what did you want to focus on?
I think for me, it's a little bit similar to what Elizabeth was saying, but the lesson I've learned is you just have to be yourself and bring yourself to that work, right? It seems like I always have a little one stuck or with me. It's mostly fun, but that's just who I am. I'm a mom, I'm an immigrant, I'm a former refugee, and I'm trying to make it all work. And so when I had my ceremonial swearing in 2018, I invited a lot of my close supporters to come and share some words and share some quotes that were really meaningful to me. And several of them were in Vietnamese. And I remember afterwards, one of my guests came up and was like, I think that must have been the first time that Vietnamese was spoken on the floor in this chamber. Yeah. And it really struck me, right? Because it probably was, nearly 400 years since the chamber was formed, and to be a house of the people, for the people, and to make sure that, we bring that our true selves to this work. And so when the going gets hard, and it does get hard, and it does get, as the kids would say, spicy on the floor, we stand up. Yeah. We stand up for our values, and we don't back down, and we bring the voices of our communities. We bring the voices of, our lived experiences, our professional experiences, to the conversation and to the fight for justice and equality every single time. And so I think that is the lesson that I've learned, and you'll always find me leaning in rather than leaning away when it gets tough. I think that's going to be really important. And as we take back the majority, and hopefully no more flipping and flopping after that, as we take back the majority, that we continue to stand and make progress for working families in Virginia.
Yeah, that is a perfect segue to 2019, where we're going to be going next and taking back power with Senator HASHMI and also SHELLY Simons. So I think this are what we call our freshman 2017 team. And we know many aren't in the room today. We try to get as many as we could. And everybody out there, we will be doing this conversation until we get to the end. So please stay with us. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Kathy. And now, a little walk through history. We had 2019 for us in the movement became all about taking back power. We had flipped some seats. We had flipped 16, really. We flipped Shelly's seat, but then, you had that seat taken away a couple of times, had to pick a freaking thing out of a bowl. But in 19 is when we really went in and talk about leaning in, and we took full control of state government. How exciting. It was super exciting. So I'm going to start with Shelly, just to continue in the flow of that experience in those days and what that felt like for you. And then here we are today. So tell us.
I think it's a lot about persisting.
Yes.
And I loved how Wendy Goditis had her persisters. And I think a lot of folks on the Zoom were part of that team. And, it takes women a lot, sometimes more than once, to run. Sometimes
perfect story. Yes.
It might take 3 times, and it might take a title action to actually win. So I think that is an important, for me, that's a lesson learned, really, about women in politics, that you just can't give up. And when I think about, some of the issues that I've been pursuing in the General Assembly, things that we know are going to take a really long time. I've worked on human trafficking legislation, and KARRIE DELANEY, who was just with us, has been fighting for many years on making sure that children who get caught up in human trafficking aren't prosecuted under our criminal code. I'm delighted to have worked with Delegate GUZMAN on the gold mining issue in Virginia. And that's going to be a long road. And year to year, we might not pass these bills, but we are educating the public on how important these issues are, new issues that
right.
you might not know that Virginia has a seam of precious metals running through it, and people are prospecting here to try to do gold mining and trying to use cyanide in the mining processes. So we need to continue to persist. And with Senator HASHMI, she and I have been working on environmental justice issues.
Yes.
And we have to continue to introduce these bills. And eventually, I believe we're gonna get it done. Brianna Sewell has been working on paid family and medical leave this session. And if we would do the work, and if we flip the House and keep the Senate, I believe that we are going to get paid family medical leave in Virginia. This is why we do what we do.
No, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love how you're able to talk about, these are why relationships matter when you're working on things that matter to your constituents and people across Virginia. You're elected. Yes, we love you. We have relationships with a lot of you because we're friends now, or we just care about each other in general, but you are there to make sure that policy moves and you're the vehicle for how we really do take action. And I love how you just talk about each other. And Senator HASHMI, to that, on the other side of the Senate, and you're the outlier here today, but this is in the sense of you're part of the history, but you are on the Senate side, which is really interesting, and your relationship building with everybody in this room. But let's talk about you. You're the first Muslim elected. I remember going down to your kickoff back in the day, and you were just an exceptional candidate. Everybody just, you just have this command of just in this way that's quiet, yet so strong and so professional. We just love it. So yeah, enough about me talking about you. Let's talk about you. What's on your mind today, and what would you like to impart and concentrate on?
Well, good afternoon, Catherine, and good afternoon to everyone here. I want to thank Network Nova for having and hosting this. It is really a historic afternoon, isn't it?
Yes.
We've got a groundbreaking Congresswoman. We've heard from so many women who have broken new territory in our General Assembly, and it is just remarkable to see the kind of legacy and the history that has been made in Virginia. And I think we lead the country in so many ways along those concerns. I think one thing that's really important for us to think about is the way that every time a woman is elected to office, or every time a woman runs for office, we are opening that door just a little bit further for other women and other minority groups to continue to make sure that we are shattering ceilings and that we are representing the full breadth and scope of everyone who lives in Virginia. And so we've already heard from two remarkable immigrant women, and I am so delighted that I'm part of that cast as well, as a first generation immigrant and someone who is representing the Asian community, and particularly the South Asian community as well. Mm-hmm. These are faces and names and identities that have been invisible until just recent history here in Virginia.
Yes.
For me, top of mind is what's going to happen in the Senate next year. As you know, for 3 years, we held on by a very thin margin. It was just one seat that we had. And in fact, it was the one seat we were able to flip when so many people helped me get across that finish line. So we were holding on by one seat. This past January, we had a remarkable election and brought Aaron Rouse into the Virginia Senate, yes, giving us a 2-seat margin. And that made such a difference for us. But now, as we're facing this election, we've got some of our colleagues who are going to be facing real serious challenges and opportunities to keep them in office are very important. We all have to rally around and support individuals such as Monty Mason, make sure he keeps his seat. But we have the chance now to actually flip 2 long-held Republican seats and gain those 2 for our side. And the first one, of course, is Siobhan Dunavant's seat. She's running as the incumbent in Henrico, but we have an exceptional candidate in the figure of Schuyler Van Valkenburg, who is in the House currently, but is putting up a formidable challenge to Siobhan, and we want to see him get across the finish line. And then the other seat is Jill Vogel's seat. There is an opportunity for us as Democrats to take that seat and again help to establish a Democratic majority. So it's going to take all of us, and the consequences if we don't succeed are far too perilous for us to even consider. If we don't take the majority and expand the majority in the Senate, we will see the kind of destructive policies that are spreading in Republican-held legislatures across the country. And we simply cannot let that happen. We have to fight. It's our responsibility. I'm ready to go, and we're going to be working hard for November.
That's the money. That is the money. Yes, Shelley.
And can I say that, so I'm paired with Monty Mason. I just put that in the chat. So I would like to extend a personal invitation. If anybody wants to come down and knock on doors for us here in Newport News, and this is where the action's going to be. We've got to turn out voters in Newport News. I've got relatives. People can stay with some of my relatives if they want to come knock doors, but I'm going to come see you guys at the summit.
First, you and I did plot. We did plot at the last Women's Summit at the bar. I think we were somewhere eating something fun when we were down there. We said you wanted to get involved. We wanted to host some stuff and do some dual action. So count on it. We will be planning that. Especially when we get into August, September, October, when we need to really start to strategize and work together. And I think like no one's coming to save us. It has to be us, how we run our campaigns, how we work with each other. And I think too, I'll just say to Senator Hashmi's point, is that the public needs to know exactly what she just said, right? That pragmatic approach to this. A lot of people don't, a lot of regular citizens aren't seeing that there is redistricting. They don't, you know, they're just really unaware. So it's our job to just do this voter education this next couple of months. So thank you so much. The big round of applause for the 2019 Taking Back Power. Just love it, love it, love it. So thank you so much. My applause maker up there sleeping. What is she doing? Robin. I'm teasing you. All right, good. Thank you. And I'm so excited for the next roundup of great leaders, women shaking the table, because sometimes we shake it in a special election. And, you know, as activists, when all of a sudden you hear someone's going out of their seat to run somewhere else, you're like, shoot, I just won that. I just try to work in that seat. But so grateful for you guys here, because you are also a mover and a shaker. Angela William Graves and Candy Munden King. Special elections. I mean, here you are, now you're in the House doing your thing. Let's talk about what's on your mind today. And I'll start off with Angela just to round it up. I don't know if you guys go between the G and the K.
Well, I am 100 to her 99, so I will let her decide.
Yeah, go ahead, Angela, because it'd be great to hear from you and talk about how you are shaking things up or what's on your mind about Women's History Month today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I love the array of questions that you gave us as an opportunity to share what we're thinking about. And amazingly for me, during Women's History Month, when you asked about who had been an influence and who influenced my journey or my life, it really was my father. And I blame him, in a manner of speaking, for me being pro-choice, because one of the things that he taught me that I've held on to my whole entire life is to make your own decisions, right? Make your own decisions and be confident in the decisions that you make. And, you know, look at what the consequences are on both sides of the choices that you have, and then make a decision, stick with it, and own it. And so a lot of times we have folks today that they'll make a decision, and if it doesn't go right, they blame Lottie-Dottie and everybody. But he taught me, you know, there's consequences and there are benefits. And if you're gonna accept the benefits, then you also have to be willing to accept the negative consequences. And so for me, it is about knowing my own mind, knowing how to weigh choices and decisions, and making good decisions, and being able to stand behind those. And silly me, I just give every other woman on the face of the planet the same kind of latitude in feeling like they know how to make decisions for themselves. They know their own mind. They know what the choices are because they're living it every single day. And they're going to be okay with the decision that they make because it's what's best for them. So that's what's really grounded me and influenced me. And so when people start talking about making other decisions for my body, my body, no, we have a problem. We have a problem. But that's one of the things that I have brought to, I believe, to the Virginia General Assembly. And then somebody else I heard say, you know, talking about not giving up and being persistent. And I think that is something that is also very, very important. There were some bills I had last year that didn't pass, but we brought them back this year and they did pass. And so you just can't give up. You know, there's a little book that says the race is not given to the swift or the strong, but to he or she that endures to the end. And so you never get to win if you don't keep going. And so those are the things that move me. Those are the things that motivate me. And those are kind of the things that are like life mantras for me.
No, I love it. And if people in the room, I mean, you have won many elections, and your resume, you first entered in 2010, Norfolk City Council, the Super Ward 7. You would win election with 40% of the vote, and then you would be reelected again in 2016 and 20. So you, my friend, really are amazing that your father imparted with this great wisdom and also tenacity to just keep winning. And you have really been a public servant that's just be commended for that. And also you served as vice mayor from 2013 to 16. And then you won a special election at the same time as this wonderful woman here, Candy King. So
we were the only two little people on the ballot.
Yeah, look at
January the 5th. It was me and Candy on the ballot, January 5th.
And I remember when I heard about your name, names don't, it's really when you coming to life to talk to candidates and just what your resume, and I went through your resume just for that. You have been in this for a long time. And then here you are still moving and shaking. Yeah.
Thank you for saying my name right. I appreciate that.
Yeah, trying. It doesn't always come out of this mouth, but it tries. Let's go over to Candy King. And I would say that getting to know Candy has been, for our team, a pleasure, because we're trying to expand our friendships outside of Nova. Prince William County is not that far away, but boy, the powerhouses that exist where you are, and you're just, again, another exceptional person, just so knowledgeable, and just a pleasure to have you here today. So what's on your mind? What do you want to today on this special last day of Women's History? What do you need to get out?
Well, first I want to get out thank you to everyone on this call. When you ask the question about the women who inspire you, or so many of them are on this call. Congresswoman McClellan, who I got to watch from afar from a very young age, and was very fortunate to have her mentorship and friendship, to Speaker Filler Corn, who has been a friend and a confidant and just a person to bounce my sometimes bad ideas off for a very long time, to my colleagues in the House, and to Delegate and soon to be Senator Williams-Graves, who shared her knowledge, her experience, her expertise with me From the moment she knew that we were running together, she reached out and she's been a sister to me. So when I think about the people who influence me, who inspire me, many of them are on the call, and women in the community who have gone out to do the hard work to ensure that my daughter has the right to bodily autonomy, to decide her future, to decide her reproductive health. And it's also been women like my grandmother, who had a 4th grade education and was forced to go work into the fields and had her first child at 13 and 7 children afterwards. And she didn't have the opportunity for education. She didn't have the opportunity to make decisions about her body and when she would reproduce. She fought and worked so that her grandchildren could have those opportunities. And so I consider it a privilege to be able to honor her and to pay it forward for the next generation of women.
I love
one of the things that's really the top of my mind right now is that we still have so much work to do. Women are under attack. Girls and their personal information is under attack. We have to decide, will we continue to fight? Will we be comfortable in our own homes and living situations? Or will we go out and call bullshit on those Republicans and those people who want to spend more time defending a career criminal than addressing the issues right here in our Commonwealth? And so that energy, as you see these seats and you see these warriors fighting to represent our Commonwealth, we need to remember that while many of us may live comfortable lives, there are people in our Commonwealth hurting, and our current administration has ignored them. We need to be their voices.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. True that. I mean, sometimes when we see in other countries people running out in the streets, and I feel like we're a little asleep around what we see happening. And, you know, I don't think a lot of us are working. I want to diminish all the stuff we've tried to do, but sometimes I'm looking around, I'm looking what's happening across our country. And it's like, I'm like, man, we are in trouble, and we need to really bring the fight and play like we want to win, not just win the spread, but win this game, because lives are at stake. And what's going to happen, like you said. Yeah, so I'm ready to fight with you. Let's get ready. And I'm so excited, and thank you for being on this segment. And I think you're going to be real excited. The next group coming up, the newest, I'll call them rock stars, shaking up politics for the future, is going to be Brianna Sewell. And she's very special to this group because we worked with Brianna before she got elected. Jackie Glass, who kicks ass. Jackie Glass, is she here? And then we have Elizabeth Bennett Parker and Irene Shin. And we love the mover and shakers. And let's try to see who's left in the room. Stay with us. So there's Jackie.
And Catherine, as Irene and Jackie join us, I just wanted to let you all know that Elizabeth Bennett Parker, or EVP, as she is affectionately known to all of us, sadly had to hop off because she had conflicting events, but she
did.
And excited to join you all at the Women's Summit in just a few weeks. So if you haven't purchased your ticket, make sure you do so.
Isn't that a girlfriend right there for you, folks? Yeah, because we got to make trouble. We got to make big trouble. We really, like Candy King said, that urgency is there, and we got to remember that we have the agency to do it still. So I'm so excited for this group. I think, again, in our experience getting through 2019, then you guys all coming in 2022, it was just glorious to see younger women in this space, people like Jackie Glass, Navy veteran, certified doer. Brianna had just background in public service being her thing. and just a special person trying to pass policy and, you know, a good political background. And then, of course, we have Irene Shin. We always saw Irene, who had always been at the table of grassroots organizing. And so we're so grateful that she's here with us today. So we'll just start with Brianna came on first. You have let's just start. What do you want to talk about today? Women, our last day. You hear some other conversations in the room. What's on your mind?
I think that Candy King created that perfect segue into what I wanted to discuss. As we have these amazing individuals who are serving on today's Friday Power Lunch, I was just looking around the room and acknowledging the fact that these are a room full of women who I get to call my colleague, who have had meaningful careers for themselves and have used that experience to fight for the betterment of all of us and have chosen politics as the avenue to do that. But I don't think people really realize the level of expertise that we have sitting in that General Assembly each day. We have professors, we have social workers, social entrepreneurs, global health workers, teachers, mothers, realtors, certified doers, Jackie Glass. We have realtors. Oh, I said that already. U.S. Department of Labor staffers, executive directors of court-appointed special advocates, government relationship gurus, and a former Secretary of Transportation and Public Safety. So as we are talking about women being our pathway to success, visionaries for legislation, this is our commitment. We're not new to this, we're true to this. We literally have this instilled in our being, and I am so elated to be able to serve with them. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the fact that all of these women had amazing careers and that no woman should have to choose between her career and her family. And that's why I had the great opportunity to co-write an op-ed with Senator Boysko, and that is in the Richmond Times-Dispatch today. So I'd encourage everyone to take a look.
Oh, is it? Can you put the link in the chat for everybody? Please do. And then I'm going to thank you, Brianna. That is so awesome to call attention to really the kind of just like gems that we do have in our midst. And sometimes, you know, even in our room in the Friday Power Lunch, we have historic, you know, advocates and fighters, and you just forget how everybody does have that agency and everybody is a certified doer like Jackie. But before I get to the certified doer, I want to make sure I get to Irene, because I know that let's make sure we can talk to her before she has to drive off on her Friday. Irene Shin, how are you? What's on your mind for Women's History Month today?
Hi, Catherine, and hi, everyone. I am already in my car. I know we're running a little bit behind schedules. I'm sorry, but I'm in my car and dialing in from here. But, you know, I wanted to first say thank you so much for all of the work that you all are doing and for staying engaged and active in politics. You know, when you sent over the 3 questions about some of the things I could consider and share with you all, I thought I would share maybe a lesson I've learned in the 2 years that I've been in office. I feel so lucky to be in this class with Jackie and Elizabeth Bennett Parker and with Brianna Sewell and Adarius and Michelle Maldonado, right? I feel so incredibly fortunate to have a community and a cadre of fellow colleagues that I get to work with, to cry with sometimes, and to rant with, right, when things don't quite go our way. But I thought I would share like the insight that I gained in being in the General Assembly over the last couple of years, which has been so interesting to me to learn, because I've been working in the General Assembly and I've been working in the building and working on policy alongside all of you for a long time now, right? And so I thought when I was getting in there, I was like, I know how the sausage is made. Like, I got this, right? And I get in there and I was like, what the fuck are we doing in here, right? Because it was a completely different ballgame than what I expected. And I think, though, the biggest takeaway for me was thinking about the history of the General Assembly, right? The House of Delegates right now in its current iteration is 403 years old, but before it was the House of Delegates, it was the House of Burgess. And when it first met in 1619, it was a class of 23 white male landowners, right? And the difference of the contrast in who we are now as a body and the kind of policies we're fighting for now are so much more reflective of the actual demographics of the Commonwealth and of our neighbors, of our communities. And I think about, you know, how input can change output. The people that we are electing, that you and I are working to elect, to fight for, to go door knocking for, those are the people who are going to have direct impact on what kind of policies are we seeing, whether that's abolishing the death penalty, whether that's raising the minimum wage from $7.25 to $12, right? Like these are all things that have happened in 2 short years. And I think about what's on the line this year in this year's elections, right? And how important it is for us to think about where we are in this time right now. We're not that far from history, right? And we are amidst, I get to serve with history makers right now. And it shouldn't be lost on us that the context of everything we're doing is in the backdrop of, Richmond is the capital of the Confederacy. Virginia is the home of the first site of colonization in the US. And like all of this work that we're doing, it's sometimes slow and sometimes painstakingly slow, and sometimes soul-crushingly slow, quite frankly. But we're doing it all because we're thinking about what kind of a future that we can build together, where we can imagine every Virginian having a fair shot, having equal opportunity, having access to a world-class healthcare, to an economy that takes care of all of us, right? And so that's what I've been reflecting on.
I love it.
International History Month or Women's Month comes to an end.
What you could do you just did in the car. If I can imagine you on the floor down in the House of Delegates. So amazing, so passionate, and it's so true. So thank you for that. And we, like you said, we are going to make history in Virginia. We've made it a few times. We're going to continue making it because we have certified doers like Jackie Glass, who also, again, heard about her, like down running for office, this woman, Jackie Glass, and boy, did she kick ass. That's the one I'm going to say. Jackie, what do you want to talk about today out of those 3 questions? What inspired you, lessons learned, or how you're shaking the table, friend?
Yo, I'm beaming over here. I love y'all. I mean that, like, I just can't, like, my face hurts. The question that I chose was, who has inspired me? Because I think I'm going to have a lot more lessons to come from this particular person. My daughter has been an amazing source of inspiration for me, especially along the realms of what it takes to do the work that we do. I've always, I don't know if you guys know this Locke song that goes money, power, respect. It's like, that's what you need, right? It's money, power, respect. And I've watched this person over the past 11 years when she needed money, wanted her first Barbie dream house. She set out. She was the littlest person in the house. How's she going to make money to do it? I mean, worked her tail off to get that Barbie dream house and to get a bearded dragon. Power. I've watched her say, I want to shave the sides of my head because I do, for 3 years. And then when she turned 7, we let her do it. Then she said, I want locks. Like being a young Black woman didn't grow up where it was, we were in environments where we were that culturally affirming. Like I literally had to wear my hair a certain way at school. And just watching her say, I'm going to be first chair in the cello. I mean, because I am superior. And then just saying, like, you cannot do that to people. Like, you cannot, or I'm going to ask this girl out because I know she likes me. Her self-assuredment has just, it put a fire in me, and she has a sense of radical candor. And I'll tell a story real quick that sort of puts into perspective what Women's History Month has meant for me and the people like Zahara, because that's her name, how they have just reminded me that it is okay, that ambition doesn't take away from humility. Right? For wanting things, they're not equal. So there was this day, and Brianna and Irene know this story because I texted it to them. My daughter, on the first day, it was like the first or second day of March, I had her cleaning baseboards because we had just got back from the General Assembly. I said, we're going to clean baseboards today. That's what we do, and it's being you. It's good. And she looks over to me and she said, is this how you want to celebrate Women's History Month? And I was like, girl, like, I hear you. I love that she challenged that. One, that she knew was funny, right? 2, that she was like, yo, we could do better than this. So I shared that story with my colleagues. And this is why I am in the presence of such an affirming and amazing group of people. But one of them wrote back to me, but we all talked about it. Brianna and Irene know. But Irene wrote me back this text that kind of shook me, that put me, I was tearing up, but also like, yes, fucking right. She says, tell her it's a timely reminder of women's history. that we have to be women who are capable of doing tasks both big and small, that we are complex enough to hold dichotomous identities, to nurture and to kick ass, to clean and to make a mess, to be soft and powerful. And I just, it shook, right? That shook you?
Yeah, I love that.
The words of these women, the presence, and I say, I am building new villages. I am bringing more women into my village, one, to help me be a better woman, but two, to help me raise this woman that I so admire. All the work that I'm putting into her what I hope to be, knowing that I still have a presence to be that woman that I think, that good woman that I'm trying to create. And so that continuously inspired me. And I'm grateful for the days to be an audience and an active participant in her journey, and to have such amazing women in the General Assembly to walk with me in this journey and help me when maybe I'm not so sure of what I'm doing. So other mother, and also she reminds me that I'm a good delegate, but I'm definitely not the best. Brianna is her other mother, and Irene is like just the best delegate.
That is awesome. And Brianna, a last word before we wrap things up. That was so amazing, everybody. Yes.
I'm just so happy that everyone on this call right now got to see how our class pours into each other. Yes. We have truly created that village, and we are each other's support system, but you guys just got to see like a glimpse. This is on a daily basis. We provide each other with that level of affirmation, support, respect, and we'll challenge each other's ideas. So that is part of shaking the table, right? You have to make sure that you have the people who are going to lift you up, but you also have to make sure you have the people who are going to shoot it to you straight when you need it. And I am just so grateful for them. And I feel so inspired being on this call today.
I think shoot it straight is you do need people to tell you. I think that's really part of being like a good friend and being able to take that. And I'll say, let's just again say, Elizabeth Bennett Parker, if you're out there listening, you are wonderful, a mover and a shaker. I mean, Alexandria just shaking up over there. There's a great resume, a great person. So we're sorry. She told me she just had a little time, and I'm sorry to miss her. With that said, I think this whole room, I just got a round of applause for everybody that spoke today. Robin, do we have it? And then we want to make sure, we still have Senator McClellan in the room. So when we go to the other side, and if people can stay, we can really get into some more discussion if people can stick around. But I want to make sure I have the opportunity that if you like today's show, this is what the Women's Summit is like. It's kind of what it kind of grew out of. It's really how we need to come together, men, women, activists, everybody. And really, if we care about all these issues, it's a great way to get in a community, feel that passion and energy and inspiration, then also let loose, have some fun. And this year we plan to do that. If you're interested in doing poetry, music, contact us. You want to sponsor us? We need sponsorships. Buy your tickets today, because as Robin said, this is the last day of early bird. And we don't do this just to sell tickets. We really believe it is it's the inspiration that gets us going, because we have we're going to have to knock doors. We're going to have to do a lot of work. So we need this time to come together. So I hope that you'll take advantage of that. And I also want to say in the room before we wrap up with, as I see Susan Hippen here, and I see, hi, Susan, running for office. I know you're doing call time. Who else did I see that's out there running? I saw a couple other people. Raise your hand if you're on call time right now. Carol Medarar, I see Carol. I love it. And, we know that these people spend a lot of time. Oh, good. Look at everybody has their hand up already. Larita's here. Mary Bartlerson's here. Sarah Radcliffe. Look at that. Karen Keys Gamara. Julie Biggins. I'm so grateful to see you here, because Julie used to come on our show to talk all about during COVID, gave a lot of her time. So I gave to her campaign. I'm like, I owe her. I mean, anytime I needed anything about COVID, Julia, you were on. So great to see you. So let's go to the after chat. Thank you to all the team.